Hey guys, and welcome to our DIY budget camper build series. As we are currently on lockdown in Spain, we wanted to put together a mini series on our DIY budget camper build. This video has been requested quite a bit lately, with a lot of people at home on lockdown and who have decided to convert their own vans.
Unfortunately, we only started filming after we built the van, so we don't have a lot of video footage. We do have photos and some small video clips which will help to show you our story. So stay tuned to find out how we converted our van into a camper van on a budget, step by step.
In this week's episode, we go through our electrical system. This includes the solar panels, our lights, a few other electrical bits and bobs, and some power sources that you can have for your van. So stay tuned!
The electrical system in our van was one of the most complex parts of the whole build, and one we were dreading, to be honest. But after a little bit of research, we found out that it's not that complicated. We do recommend though that you speak to a professional or a friend that knows a bit about electrics before you start this in your van. In a van build, there are multiple sources of electricity you can have. We wanted to go primarily off-grid, so we don't have a mains hookup for our van. The different options for off-grid electricity are solar panels, a split charge relay, or a Maxhoke official power block. We use a combination of split charge relay and solar panels in our van. The reason we chose to have solar panels and a split charge relay is to make sure that when the sun is out and we're static and we're not moving, we still get power. Also, when the sun isn't out and we're driving, we also get power, to make sure we get the best of both worlds and we always have electricity. The split charge relay costs about €70 and it runs from the main starter battery in the van out to our leisure batteries. We have two 100 watt solar panels which go down into the van, into a charge controller and then into our batteries. The batteries we have in our van are two 110 amp hour batteries. The batteries cost about €90 each, between 90 and 115, but we recommend this size. We've never run out of power so far and we've been on the road for nearly a year. The solar panels we have on our van are made from Renogy and they cost about €150 for the two. They're also mounted to the van with brackets that we installed by drilling in through the top of the van. These are sealed of course to make sure no rain gets through, but they're securely mounted onto the van. We recommend installing the solar panels in your van before you install the insulation in your roof and also the cladding or whatever type of finish you're going to have on your ceiling. We also have an inverter in our van which is 300 watts, which allows us to go from 12 volt into 240 volt. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, we didn't either. 12 volt is basically like a USB slot. We have multiple USB slots in the van, but we know we needed to charge our laptops in there too. So a normal socket you find in a house is a 240 volt socket. In order to change the power from a normal 12 volt or USB style power into a house style socket, we needed this inverter. The inverter we chose is 300 watts and it was about €90. If we had more money, we'd probably go higher because we can't use things like blenders, microwaves or anything crazy like that. It's just enough for our batteries for our laptops. We've heard from multiple sources online that the best inverter you can buy is a pure sine wave inverter. They are a little bit more expensive, but everyone that we've ever spoken to that has a van recommends them.
If you're liking this video so far guys, please like it, share the video and subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost a thing, but it really helps us out. So please, please, please subscribe. Thanks guys, back to the build!
Well Dean, thanks so much for showing us about your van, but how do I actually build it? Don't worry, we've got you covered. I'm going to show you exactly how we built our electrical system step by step for this DIY budget camper build. The first picture we have here is the top of our van. As you can see, our lovely vents from the previous episodes and our two gorgeous solar panels. They have a little bit of space between them, and if you can see, they have intentionally a gap between to allow air to come underneath and just cool them down. Some of the reviews we saw from people with mounting solar panels was not to put them too close to the van because you'd have no air to go underneath and cool down. These can get really hot as they attract in the sun. Connecting them was pretty easy. We just drilled through the van, made sure it was sealed up and then bolted the solar panel to the connectors and that was it. We ran the cables together between the solar panels and then we ran them through a little hole and a connector block through the top of the van, which is also sealed, down through the van. In order to stop any leaks from happening or any water getting into where your solar cables are, we recommend using something like Tech 7 or Sikaflex or any type of sealant there. Make sure you've sealed it fully before you continue. Once the solar panel cables were inside the van, it was ready to start hooking up the electricity. Here you can see a half-finished roof with me pretending like I know exactly what I'm doing. It was actually pretty easy once we got over the fear of connecting these lights, and I did have a friend on hand to tell me what to do. I think he was actually on video call at that stage. Once the lights were connected, we also connected on and off switches because we don't want the lights to be on all the time. That might drain our batteries pretty quick. So installing these were pretty easy too. They were cheap to buy on Amazon and they do the job really well. Pro tip, make sure you put the switches somewhere easily accessible to the van. We chose this spot in the van because it's when you come right in, we just turn them on like you would in any room in your house. Feels just like home. The lights we chose for the top of our roof were recessed LED lights. They're actually for boats, I think, but they're really good. They're super flat on the top, so they don't actually come out, which means they don't lower the ceiling. One of the big concerns we had about living in a van was that the ceiling will be low enough. Having our lights flush with the ceiling was so important for us. These are pretty inexpensive and they do the job really well. We bought these off Amazon for about £16. Although we love these lights, we actually found that these strip LED lights are probably a little bit nicer to be inside the van. It makes it feel a little bit cozier, and they're also on a dimmer switch, which means you can make it as light or as dark as you want. Perfect for the evenings when you've finished your dinner and are watching some Netflix. Before we installed these, Jenny insisted that she took a picture with her homemade LED sash. Which looks pretty good. Once I managed to wrestle these lights away from Jenny, they have an adhesive backing on the end which allowed us just to stick it around all around the van where we wanted. It was really easy to install. The adhesive is super sticky, which means they haven't dropped since, and they're really easy to connect up. Connecting them is simple with a 12 volt system. You got a red cable and a black cable, positive and negative. It's the same for all of the van with the exception of the 240 volt socket which we mentioned before. This is the exact same way we install these as we install all of our LED lights and our USB slots. You can see here there's a red and a black cable there with some electrical tape around. This is a view from the inside of our wardrobe, which is just out of the way, but it means we can show our display of our power on the outside. And on the outside of the wardrobe, we can see our full control panel. Don't be confused here, it's actually a lot more simple than it looks. On the top left, we have our battery meter. So with our batteries, we can see exactly where we are. At this point in time, we have just over half a battery and we can see the little smiley face is telling us it's all good. On the top right hand side, we have our diesel heater. We're not going to go into that in this video because we didn't install it ourselves, we had our friend install it, but that's where the display is there. It's also hooked up with our electrical system just to let us know exactly when it's on and off and the temperature. We might do a video down the line about that when we learn a little more ourselves. On the bottom left of that picture we can see a dimmer switch. This is the dimmer switch used for the LED strip lighting. We highly recommend getting one of these and it was about £20. Beside the dimmer switch we have a USB slot. This has two USB slots and it's really easy to hook up. Again, it's the red and black or positive and negative cables. Most things these days will be charged by USB anyway. Things like phones, Kindles, whatever. We also found out that sometimes cables can get in the way. We found these cool little cable huggers from Deals for $1.50 and it gets two little cable huggers. You attach them in and everything just stays neat and in place. It makes the place feel a little bit organised, otherwise it will be chaos. Although this control panel is great, it's sometimes too bright when we're trying to go to sleep. Jenny made some homemade blinds so you can see some Velcro strips around the edge, which we cover just to make sure the van is in night mode. As I mentioned, we have different USB slots dotted around the van. One of them is up on the side of the wardrobe, which is the control panel area, and another is inside our seats. Placing this just beneath our seats allows us to charge anything while we're sitting there in the van at the table. It's a perfect spot to make sure Jenny can charge everything and I can charge everything at the same time. As we mentioned in a previous episode, our kitchen episode, we have our 12 volt fridge hooked up through our electrical system too. That was a bit weird, was it?
No,
okay.
that was fine.
To hook this fridge up, all we did was run a 12 volt cable through from the electrical system in the van, underneath our storage and seats and coming out. All we do then is use the connectors from the fridge to that cable and we have our fridge. As we mentioned before, we love our 12 volt fridge. It's a little bit more expensive for a DIY budget camper build, but we highly recommend it and make sure we have cold drinks at all times. So Dean, that's all great, but where are your batteries? Well, I'm going to show you right now. Our batteries are underneath our seats. We stored it all in this little electrical locker if you want to call it that, and it's where everything goes. It's super easy to trace all of our cables and wires in the van back to this spot. So I'll run through that now. On the left hand side you can see our two 110 amp hour batteries. These are the powerhouses behind all of the electrics in our van. Snuggled tightly in between our two batteries is our pure sine wave inverter. This 300 watt inverter allows us to have our normal 240 volt sockets, and you can see we have a white extension cable which allows us to plug 240 volt power anywhere in the van. I'll show you how that works in a little bit. On the right hand side, mounted against the wall, is our charge controller. This is from our solar panels. In the top middle of the picture you can see some red and black cables which are thicker than the normal cables. These are the cables from the split charge relay and our solar panels. The solar panels come from the top of the van, down behind the wall and into the charge controller. This allows the batteries to be optimized by the charge in the solar panels. Not too sure on how the whole thing works, to be honest, but all we know is it has to go through here to be regulated properly for your batteries. So once we have everything going to the battery, we also have the battery hooked up to a fuse board. This fuse board is a 12 volt fuse board and basically has fuses for every different appliance in our van. One for the fridge, one for the USB slots, one for the lights, etc. Using this fuse board protects everything, and it makes sure that if something goes in the van we know exactly where it is because a fuse light will come on. We highly recommend having this labelled. This is really handy because if an appliance goes or blows, it's going to set off a light on the fuse board and we're going to know exactly where it is and what's wrong. It makes it really easy to fix the problem. Although everything that's 12 volt goes from the fuse board out to each appliance, we have the 240 volts from the pure sine wave inverter. That white cable that you see gets dragged through on an extension cord and it gives us power anywhere we want. In order to ensure our batteries didn't go anywhere, we made sure we drilled down some wooden boards right beside the batteries to keep them nice and snug. This is a big safety concern for the person that was helping us with our electronics, and they also recommended put down a rubber sheet on top of everything so the batteries don't get touched while we're driving. To use that we used one of our old gym mats, which is a rubber floor mat, and it makes everything nice and secure. And when we look at this fuse board we can see that everything positive, or the plus side of the cable which is red, goes into the fuse board and comes out the other side, and all of the negative, which is the black cable, can be seen earthed together. If you don't know what this is, we recommend speaking to a professional before you try it. And this is the extension cable that's hooked up to our pure sine wave inverter. As we mentioned, this can pull out because it's on an extension cable, and it means we can move it around the van if we need to charge our laptops or small appliances like that. Remember we mentioned, as it's only a 300 watt inverter, we can't use things like blenders or whatever. If you wanted to pay more money and get a better one, you probably could, but for us we have enough there. Well guys, we hope this video has helped explain how we use an electrical system in our DIY budget camper build. I know electrics can be a little bit daunting, but the main thing to realise is with a 12 volt system, all you need to know is your plus or your red side, and your black or your negative side is probably the most important thing. We also recommend that anything to do with electricity or gas should be looked at by a professional before you begin. If you can't get a professional, make sure you know what you're doing and you're making all the safety requirements needed to make sure you're safe in your DIY budget camper build. Guys, if you've made it this far in the video, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you're enjoying the series so far. And next week's video is going to be the finishing touches in our van. This puts everything together and makes sure we have our home on wheels fully finished and ready for the road.
If you've made it this far in the video, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like and share the video, comment down below and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!
We have two 100 watt solar panels on the roof of our van which go down into a charge controller and then into the...
Oh, you're doing so well.
Before you finish off the install... So now we're going to go through step by step on how you can invert... go on to the next one.
Let me do that one more time. Try it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks guys, we'll see you in the next video.
Don't be doing my part.
I just, for one video, I wanted to do the thing.
No, you can't do it. You're not allowed to do
If you
that
prefer
part.
my version, comment Dean. If you prefer Jenny's version, comment Jenny.